Welcome to our Mothers Out Front Massachusetts Climate Action Call. My name is Wendy McCluskey, and I'm a member of the Cambridge chapter and part of the Healthy Soil Livable Future Action Group. And for those who are not familiar with the Mothers Out Front Climate Action Calls, in the next 45 minutes, you will learn about a specific climate issue, and we will take focused action together. Today, we will learn about soil pollution from toxic chemicals. So here's a quick preview of the agenda for our climate action call. After a brief overview of today's focus, we will hear a personal story from Janet Powers, who will also present our background information. Then we'll move on to our action. We have set aside about 15 minutes of this call to take action together. We will come back together for a few important announcements and next steps, and we will end this meeting promptly at 12:45. We do hope you'll stay until the end. Before we get going, I'll quickly go over a few norms for this meeting. Please rename yourself in Zoom to include your name, your city or town, and if you like, an organization you're with. Be sure to mute yourself when we are together in the main room, if you are not already muted. Use the chat to share comments or questions during the call. Closed captioning is available, and you should be able to access that tool at the bottom of the screen. And finally, we are recording this climate action call. If you do not want to be seen in the recording, please use the Zoom controls to turn off your video. So again, welcome everyone. And I first want to give a land acknowledgement. We are living and working from the ancestral lands of the Massachusetts people. As we all work to heal the destruction caused by colonization, we appreciate your support, solidarity, and continued learning. For those of you who aren't familiar with our Mothers Out Front Healthy Soil Livable Future Action Group, our mission is to protect and restore soil health to nurture a livable climate and a just food system. So it's appropriate that we are hosting the Climate Action Call on the United Nations World Soil Day. Our signature image here was created by Janet Powers, who will be sharing her story and giving us the background on soil pollutants. This image was also created by Janet Powers, and it captures the philosophy of our group. We need to stop using fossil fuels and convert to clean energy to stop heating the earth, and we also need to sequester carbon from the atmosphere into the ground using nature-based solutions to start cooling it. Carbon drawdown relies on healthy soil and plant photosynthesis, as does nutritious food production. Healthy soil ensures healthy food and a livable climate. So today, December 5th, is UN World Soil Day, and we're going to look at the connection between soil pollution, climate change, and human health. Soil pollution interferes with the soil's ability to sequester carbon, and it is also a hazard to the health of our families. We'll take action on regulating some key soil pollutants, pesticides, and PFAS, forever chemicals. So I'll turn it over now to Janet Powers, who is in Vermont at her library because she is without power due to snow. We're so glad she can join us, and she will be sharing her personal story and also background on soil pollution.
Hello, everybody. I got to grow up in a garden in the woods, and curiosity and creativity were always encouraged. And in high school, I was a PhD student's thesis guinea pig. Her name was Dr. Shirley Griffin, although she wasn't doctor yet, of environmental survival. We studied wetlands and water, carbon, nutrient cycles, and taught our elders how to abide by the Wetlands Protection Act. She introduced us to Rachel Carson and Silent Spring, and my concern for pesticides and global warming were deeply ingrained by the time graduation rolled around. My education continued to be immersed in the patterns and cycle of nature, and I got to grow and learn in another garden in the woods. But motherhood was what put a new spin on everything. Children and their welfare became my top priority. A new chapter of Mothers Out Front moved into town, and I jumped in to help fight climate change. We fought gas pipelines and pointed out gas leaks. We lobbied for net zero plans and community choice aggregation. I ardently believe in the Mothers Out Front mission of a livable climate for all children. And when a small group began to study soils and nature-based solutions, I found my Mothers Out Front home. To this day, I continue to learn through walks in the woods, puttering on a mini farm, and with my friends on the Healthy Soil Livable Futures Action Group, who continually encourage each other to read, watch documentaries, participate in webinars, and then we share in forums such as this. Daily, I am in awe of the miraculous, complex earth we live on. Yet we are far from truly comprehending how interconnected all life and universal elements are. The multitude of invisible actions and interactions that power our world, that we just don't know all of what's happening. And so I have turned to art making as a vehicle through which I can imagine the invisible forces that orchestrate life. Our world evolved largely through cooperation, and perhaps with a return to a symbiosis mindset, we might just be able to pull out of the mess we're in. So let's imagine together. As World Soil Day, it's a great time to be talking about healthy soil and its effect on the climate. Let's start by taking a short trip into the invisible workings of plants and soil, the real-life, elegant process of give and take between plants, soil life, carbon, water, and so much more. Full disclosure, this is really simplified. So here we go. Plants, powered by the sun, capture carbon dioxide from the air through photosynthesis. The carbon changes up to just what the plants need to feed themselves. But they often make more than they need. So they send this repackaged carbon out through their roots to feed the microorganisms in the soil. These critters build rich, sticky, moist soil. They mine nutrients and connect the plants to tiny pockets of water and minerals that the roots are just too big to access. Plants feeding soil microbes create a stable form of soil carbon that holds water. We soil geeks call it the soil carbon sponge. It holds a lot of water, some of which is cycled back up through the plant, which evaporates through the leaves and cools the air. It even seeds the clouds with rain-making microbes. Meanwhile, the rich, moist soil down in the ground is what helps us to survive drought, fires, and floods, and it also grows our food. So now some of this detail might seem unimportant when talking about climate change and carbon drawdown. Even soil pollution, you might wonder why we need to know all these things. But it's precisely this powerful, invisible process that grows our healthy foods, draws down carbon, and cools the planet and regulates our weather. And climate change and soil pollution are messing these invisible cycles up. We don't need to reinvent the process to restore our planetary systems. These cycles already exist. Deep knowledge of intricate web of life is woven in the worldviews and practices of many indigenous cultures today. The question is, can we humble ourselves enough to truly listen and learn? Robin Wall Kimmerer, in her book Braiding Sweetgrass, said, in some native languages, the term for plants translates to those who take care of us. And I'd like to add, if plants are taking care of us, so too are the soil microbes. Today, as we celebrate soil, we're here to fight soil pollution. Soil pollution poisons the food we eat, kills soil life, reduces carbon drawdown, interferes with the plants and soil's ability to cool the planet and mitigate climate disruption, and contributes to increased global temperatures through manufacturing and distribution. This year, GRIS published an article showing how pesticides are intensifying global warming. And it turns out it's a vicious cycle because it takes a lot of fossilized energy to produce pesticides. 99% of pesticides are petroleum based. And some pesticides themselves are thousands of times more powerful greenhouse gases than CO2. So the more we use, more pesticides we make and use, the more the climate warms. And the vicious cycle comes in when the more the climate warms, the more pests we have. And so we end up using more pesticides. And then that is often the reason why chemical companies say we have to use them. The other key factor in pesticides contributing to climate change is that soil microorganisms play a key role in carbon sequestration and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. However, pesticides are killing these organisms that keep our soil healthy. Biodiversity in our soil is just starting to be understood. Some scientists estimate 2/3 of all species on Earth live in the soil, and that we have gotten to know maybe 1% of those. We are losing them faster than we can discover them, and pesticides are the most significant driver of soil biodiversity loss in the past decade. We need the full range of soil critters, both those we know and those we don't, to adapt to and mitigate climate change. We need it to grow healthy food, to draw carbon down, and to cool the planet, which will help regulate unpredictable weather such as floods, fires, and drought. Pesticides are not the only form of soil pollution that we are concerned about. PFAS, which are known cancer-causing agents, are chemicals that persist for hundreds of years and are everywhere in our homes, our clothes, our cooking pans, our firefighting foams, even in dental floss. And we are flushing them down the drain. They are also found in artificial turf, which is often on school grounds and fields where our children play so much of the time. Not too surprisingly, PFAS generate a lot of greenhouse gases during manufacturing. And it's not just the energy use. They also release hydrochlorofluorocarbons, which are 5,000 times more potent of a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. This greenhouse gas might sound familiar. It is the refrigerant that the world agreed to phase out over the past several decades because it was creating a giant hole in the ozone layer. It turns out there was a loophole in this treaty to eliminate its use, except when companies were using it to create other chemicals. And so the PFAS chemical companies are able to use this greenhouse gas in its manufacturing process. On the upside, 3M is one of the largest producers of PFAS in the US and has agreed to phase out PFAS by 2025. However, being forever chemicals, that means at least 200 more years of PFAS circulating through Earth's systems, including us and our children. PFAS are also in a vicious cycle. You see, PFAS are found everywhere across the globe, even in the Arctic permafrost. It is riddled with it. Manufacturing PFAS contributes to climate change. As the planet warms and permafrost melts, even more PFAS are being re-released into the atmosphere and waterways. As for the effects of PFAS on soil life, there's not been a lot of research done, but the early studies suggest it's not looking good. Leaf litter has been shown to break down more quickly, which exposes soil, which will heat up, dry out, and kill microbes. It's also shown to increase soil pH. This throws off the balance of the soil microbiome, and it is disrupted. Soil respiration will decrease, which indicates a decrease of life in the soil. And the loss of water-stable aggregates means less water stored. And this causes us to be more prone to drought, floods, and wildfire, as well as it's unstable for the plant community above. All of the above adversely affects our soil microbiome, which means less healthy food, less carbon drawdown, and warmer, destabilized climate. I think we're all starting to get to know this mantra. We can probably all say it together in the end, but anyway. Furthermore, the PFAS in our lives and the PFAS in manufacturing are flushed down the drain. They're piped off to water treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants, and these forever chemicals are concentrated as the waste is then processed into pellets that are used as fertilizers across the country. While we sort out how to eliminate these chemicals from our daily lives and how to better clean our wastewater, one thing we can do is to stop using PFAS sludge to grow our food. Civil engineer Laura Orlando stated in an NPR interview this past April, there is no safe concentration of PFAS. And so adding it to soil as fertilizer, it's a disconnect from the reality of the harm this family of chemicals, the harm of this family of chemicals. And so the logical thing to do is just not spread it all over the place. PFAS pollution and pesticides pollution are disrupting the bonds and relationships inherently found in nature. Let us work towards repairing, honoring, and respecting the power of nature. When we restore healthy soil, we can grow healthy food, draw carbon down, and cool and stabilize the climate. And now back to Wendy, who will tell us how we can act. Thanks.
Thanks, Janet. So today we're going to focus on two bills, both of which are also being advocated by the Mass Pollinators Network. And first is the bill to regulate glyphosate, or Roundup, as you may know it. Glyphosate is a potent chemical pesticide used for weed control. It has been shown to be harmful to humans, and children are far more sensitive to pesticides than adults. The Healthy Soils Action Group has been working to pass this bill for 3 years, and it has finally been passed out of committee into Ways and Means. We just need a final push to hopefully get this act across the finish line. This combined bill will create an online portal and database for pesticide use reporting with clear online public access to the annual data, and it would require that pesticides be proven safe before being used on playgrounds and fields where children learn and play. We need to protect our children from this powerful toxin. The second bill concerns PFAS, or forever chemicals. As you've heard from Janet, PFAS find their way into our soil and thus our food from compost that has been contaminated with sludge. PFAS do not break down and can accumulate in our bodies over time. This is especially dangerous for young people with long lives ahead of them. Small local farms are particularly vulnerable to disruption from PFAS. We need to protect farmers while ensuring food integrity and the health of our families. These bills will provide financial and liability relief should farmers' ability to grow crops be impacted by PFAS, as well as establish an account to support technical assistance and education to help farmers adapt to new practices that reduce the use and dispersion of PFAS. So industrial agriculture and the petrochemical industry have powerful lobbies that fight against reducing the use of chemicals on crops and in our neighborhoods. These chemicals are poisons, and they don't belong in schoolyards, on farms, in the food we eat. We need to protect our children from toxic chemicals. So today's action has two parts. First, sending an email to your Mass House representative about the pesticides bill. And second, sending an email to both of your Mass state legislators. your state House representative and senator about the PFAS bill. A bonus action is to phone them to reinforce the message. And if Ginger could put the link for the action toolkit into the chat, you can click on that link. And in the toolkit, you will find a link to find the name and email address of your state representative and state senator. You can use their email addresses to send them a quick message based on the sample we have in the toolkit. You will be using your own email account to send a message because that makes a bigger impact. Please customize the sample, especially the subject line. If you have time during today's action, please also call and leave a voicemail for your state rep and state senator. Phone calls are often more impactful than emails. If they get 5 telephone calls about a particular issue, that's extraordinary, and they really do take notice. So again, Ginger, can you put the link into our toolkit again into the chat? And we are all going to be quiet for the next few minutes so we can take these actions together. If you have questions, you can drop them in the chat or just ask out loud if it is a brief question. Others can turn off their sound if they don't want to be disturbed by questions. If you are really struggling with tech, don't worry. You will get all these instructions by email later today. So I'm just thrilled that we have so many people taking action on these bills, and it really inspires me to take these actions together. And please never doubt the impact that working together can have. When we gather together and also join forces with our allies, we can be a real force for change. So later today, you will receive a follow-up email. It will have the toolkit we shared today, these slides, and a recording of this call. We encourage you to forward that email to your network. Tell your friends and neighbors about what you learned today. Mothers Out Front hosts a welcome call every month. The next one is on Friday, December 8th at noon. If you are new to Mothers Out Front, we hope you will join us. If you have asked yourself, what more could I be doing to stop climate change? This is the right event for you. In this Zoom call, we will work to help you identify the U-shaped hole in this movement. We want to help you find ways to use your unique talents, skills, and experiences to build a stronger, more effective, more inclusive movement for change. And finally, we want this climate action call to be in your calendar every month. We will skip the early January call due to the holidays, but we'll pick up again in 2024 on Tuesday, February 6th at 12 noon. We don't have a link yet because of our upcoming software system change, but add the date to your calendar and watch your emails in January for the event description and link. And we hope to see you all in February. So many thanks to all of you for joining to take action today. Special thanks to Janet, our speaker, and to our tech support team working behind the Zoom screen here. And sincere appreciation to our mentors on this call, Christine Gelstrup, Diane Sokol, and Toby Wall. They definitely improved your experience here today. And watch your email for follow-up info to share with others to spread our action. And we hope that we will see you again in 2024, February 6th at noon. Until then, enjoy the holiday time with family, friends, and recording. Bye, everyone.